Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Learning Path. This is Dr. B. Meena, Head Department of Commerce and Vice Principal Shift 1 from Petition College of Arts and Science, Adayar, Chennai. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to prepare process accounts when you have not only the normal loss, we will have abnormal gain as well as abnormal loss. In this occasion, how we will prepare the process accounts, as well as sometime the problem may ask you to prepare the ledger accounts pertaining to normal loss account, abnormal gain account. So in the continuing videos, not only this video and the next video, I'll teach you to work out how to prepare the process accounts with abnormal loss and gain. Click the I button to have more understanding in process costing about the normal loss, abnormal loss, concepts and all to watch my previous videos. Let me check one problem in this model. Look at that. A product processed through three processes, 1, 2, and 3. From the following information, prepare the process accounts, assuming that there were no opening or closing stocks. So as per this problem, we have three processes, process 1, process 2, process 3. And the respective expenses amounts were given. The expenses are, as per this problem, is material, labor, overheads. These are the expenses, and for each process the output was given. For process 1 the output is 9,500, process 2 the output is 9,100, process 3 the output is 8,100. So this information only make us to calculate by comparing the input what I'm giving in each process, whether we have abnormal loss or abnormal gain apart from the normal loss. The normal loss percentage is given in this problem, 3% for process 1, 5% for process 2, and 8% for process 3. Now look at the paragraph. The wastage of process 1 was sold at 25 pies per unit, that of process 2 at 50 pies per unit, and process 3 at 1 per unit. So these are the values given for the normal loss percentage. Once we calculate the quantity of the normal loss, now we can apply the scrap value for each process to calculate the value of the scrap for the normal wastage. Now raw materials 10,000 units were introduced into the process in the beginning. So we have information about that raw materials, that is, what is that? Introduced in the process 1 is 10,000 units. What is the rate per unit? 1 per unit. So how we will work out in this kind of problems? Because we need to check whether we have abnormal loss or abnormal gain, or there is no abnormal loss or abnormal gain. Let me check out the solution. Now I started preparing process 1 account. I have a debit side and credit side with the columns, particulars, units, and amount. So in the debit side, I debit all the expenses. I start off the process 1 account with the input which is given in this problem, the last line of the paragraph. Raw materials 10,000 units were introduced into process 1 in the beginning at a cost of 1 per unit. So this information I made use to introduce the raw materials in the process 1. This is the input. Okay, so 10,000 units, the rate of 1 rupee. So amount I will get 10,000 rupees. So I debited all other expenses. Look at all other expenses. That is 1,000 rupees materials, 5,000 labor, over is 1,050. That's what I debited on the debit side of the process 1 account. Okay, so you add an understanding how I show the items on the debit side of the process 1 account. Next, I'll move on to the credit side. By normal loss, I used to mention, I explained in the previous videos, whenever wastage you have that as a recovery value, I mean the scrap value, that wastage has to be termed as normal loss. I repeat, whenever there is a wastage which has a recovery value, or the scrap value is given in the problem means that wastage has to be termed as normal loss. So as per this problem, the normal loss percentage is given for process one is how much? 3%, right? So 3% is a normal loss. So what is the input I gave as per this process? 10,000. For this process, I gave 10,000 units as the input. So 10,000 into 3%, what is my normal loss? 300 units. And the scrap value is given in this problem. What is the scrap value is given in the paragraph? For the process one, it was sold at 25 pice. That's what I mentioned, 0.25. So when I'm multiplying 300 units into 0.25, I'll get the amount value as 75. I think all of them understood how I made a calculation for knowing the normal loss. So normal loss term will come when we have a wastage with the scrap value. The next is by process to account transfers. By process to account transfer. What is that is the output given for this process? We have the information. What is the process one output? Look at the line actual output units. For process one, it is given 9,500. So I showed here by process to account. Whatever output I'm getting in the respective process, that will become a input for the next process, right? That's what I mentioned by process. This is a process one. So process one output will become a process two input. So that's what I mentioned by process to account transfer. So how much is the output given as for the problem? 9,500. Now I have to calculate whether there is any abnormal loss or abnormal gain, or there is no abnormal loss or abnormal gain. By doing the calculation only will come to know. So how to do that calculation? Now look at this. What is the input I gave for this process? 10,000. So 10,000 and output is given in the problem 9,500 and wastage is how much? 300. So 9,500 is the output and 300 is the wastage, mean the calculation came at 9,800 only. Out of 10,000, 9,800 only it is accounted, means the remaining 200 will be the unexpected loss. Okay, that loss is called it as by abnormal loss. I expected 300 units will be the loss. That is normal loss. That is predetermined loss. That is predetermined loss as per the past experience. That's what I explained the previous videos. So normal loss are the predetermined loss based on the past experience. But abnormal loss is unexpected one. Okay, due to the shortage or the power cut, we have some kind of loss. That is abnormal loss. So how to calculate the abnormal loss or abnormal gain means compare the inputs. What is the input in this problem? 10,000. And normal loss wastage is 300. And output they gave in the problem 9,500. So 9,500 plus 300, 9,800 only is coming. So out of 10,000, the calculations coming only for 9,800 means the remaining 200 will be the abnormal loss. Because I gave input 10,000, but wastage and output, it came around 9,800. So what is my abnormal loss? 200. Okay. So show that tons column alone, time being 200 and 9,500 is the output that which is to be transferred to the next process. 200 is the abnormal loss, right? So how I calculate the values? Look at the calculation. Now, once you came to know that you have abnormal loss only, means you just close your debit side. So I repeat, once you came to know you have abnormal loss means then definitely you can close your debit side. So close the debit side, 17,050 rupees. Okay, then 17,050 rupees. I'll look at the calculation, how I made the cost per unit under this account. Cost per unit of process output, 17,050 is the total of the debit side, minus whatever so far I credited, 350 and 16,625, still I didn't calculate. So before this calculation, what is only I credited? Okay, 75. So 17,050 minus 75 divided by, whenever you have an abnormal loss, just do the calculation in the denominator like this. 9,500 plus what is my abnormal loss? Whenever you have abnormal loss, add the abnormal loss in the denominator. So 9,500 plus 200, what is my cost per unit? 1.75. This cost per unit 1.75, I will apply for my abnormal loss. 200 into 1.75, 350, and 9,500 into 1.75, 16,225. So this is the way you came to know how I prepare the process account when I have a abnormal loss. Okay, so I need to compare the input of that particular process with the output and the wastage. The output and wastage, it's totally comes 9,800. How I got 9,800? 9,500 plus 300, 9,800. So out of 10,000, 9,800 only I'm getting, means the remaining 200 is the unexpected loss, is otherwise called as what it is, abnormal loss. Then how can I calculate the cost per unit for the abnormal loss as well as the output of that particular process? Means just get the total of the debit side. It came as 17,050 rupees, and what our amount so far I credited 75 divided by 9,500 is the output, 200 is my abnormal loss. Whenever you have abnormal loss, add it. Then the cost per unit come as 1.75. Substitute this rate per unit for abnormal loss as well as process 2. Okay, that is output. Then you will get the values and close your credit side with the same total. This is all about process 1. Now I am going to prepare the process 2 account. How can I proceed? Means transfer this output to process 2 account as the input. Let me check out the next slide. Now look at the process 2 account. To process where this input is coming, from process 1. That's why we mentioned the name as to process 1 account. I debited that. And as usual, you just look into the problem, what are the amounts of the expenses which is particularly given for process 2. Okay, so 1,500 for materials, 8,000 for labor, and 1,188 for overheads. The same thing only I showed it here. Excuse me. So 1,500, 8,000, 1,188. Now my job is to enter the details on the credit side by normal loss account. So what is the input I gave in the process to 9,500, right? So out of 9,500, 5% is the loss. So I calculate a loss 475, and that scrap value is given for this problem. What is the scrap value is given? 50 pies. Okay, so 50 pies is a scrap value. So 0.50 I mentioned over here. 475 into 0.5, 238. Right? Then I have to look into this problem. What is the output for process 2? What is the output for process 2? That is 9,100 is given. I bring it over here, 9,100. Now, as per this process, we are getting an abnormal gain. How I calculated we are getting abnormal gain means just have a understanding over my explanation. 9,500 is the input I gave. 9,500 is the input I am giving, right? Out of 9,500, 475 is my loss. Okay, and output I'm getting 9,100. Now add these two amounts, 9,100 plus 475. What is your calculation? 9,575. So I gave input only 9,500, but the output along with the loss I'm getting as 9,575. So what is my abnormal gain? 75. Why I'm terming abnormal gain? Because the input I gave 9,500 is lesser than the output I'm getting. 9,500 is my input, but I'm getting 9,575 as the total along with the loss as well as process to output. So what is my abnormal gain? Look at this calculation. I showed on the, once I came to know that I'm having abnormal gain for this process, definitely you need to enter the details on the debit side. To abnormal gain account, 9,500 minus what is my output of this process, 9,100 plus what is my normal loss, 475. So the gain is 75. Then how can I calculate the cost per unit for both abnormal gain as well as the output for that particular process. Look at the calculation, and that is, you need, whenever you have an abnormal gain, please focus your attention clearly. Whenever you have an abnormal gain, just close the debit side roughly. Do the rough calculation. How to do that? 16,000, 16,625 plus 1,500 plus 8,000 plus 1,088. Okay, now our work is to calculate the value for abnormal gain. I showed no abnormal gain 75 tons only. I don't know what is the rate per ton. Then if I came to know the rate per ton, then only I can calculate the amount as well as the output on the credit side. I knew only 9,100 tons as the output. I don't know the rate per ton as well as the value. If I knew the rate, then only I came to know what is the amount, right? So for calculating the rate per ton for the output as well as for abnormal gain, I need to do the rough calculation of the debit side totaling. How to do that? 16,220, sorry, 625 plus 1,500 plus 8,000 plus 1,188. That gives you 27,313, right? And then look at the credit side. What is the amount so far I credited? 238. The denominator, what is the output of this process? 9,100. We are getting abnormal gain. So minus how many tons as abnormal gain? 75. Can you recall the point? In case abnormal loss means what we did in the last process calculation rate per unit, we add it. But whenever you have abnormal gain, just have in comparison. Okay, minus 75 is the abnormal gain. So the rate per ton I'm getting 3. This 3 is applicable for the process, that particular process output 9,100 into 3. I'll get 27,300. The same thing, 75 into 3, 225. Now we can close the debit side total as well as credit side total for the amount column as well as the tons column. So this is an example how you can proceed to prepare the process account when you have abnormal gain. Next, we'll go to the next process 3. So this is the process 2 output. The same amount to whatever I shaded yellow color will transfer to the next process as input. Now look at that. 2 process, from where it is coming, process 2. That's what we mentioned, 2 process account transfer, 9,100 because it's a process 3 account. So we add an input from the previous process, 9,100, 27,300. As usual, I debited the expenses, material, labor, overheads as per the problem. Just look at the problem if you have doubt. 500 is the materials, labor is 6,500, overheads is 2,009. The same thing I debited here. Okay. Then I'll move on to the credit side by normal loss. What is the input I gave? 9,100. Out of that, 8%. So 8% is the normal loss percentage is given the problem. If you have doubt, please check to that. What is the normal loss percentage? 8%, right? So that's what I posted over here. Out of 9,100, 8% is the wastage. So 728 tons is coming. The value of the that is scrap is given 1 rupee. So 728 into 1, 728 rupees, right? And then what is the output is given in this problem? What is the output? See, process 3 scrap value is 1 that I applied here. What is the output of process 3? 8,100, right? So that 8,100 only I showed here by finished stock. Since it's a loss process, how we can mention the output answer? By finished stock. Always you write the output of the last process as by finished stock. Okay, so by finished stock 8,100. Now our calculation to be whether we are having abnormal loss, abnormal gain. How to calculate? What is my input? 9,100. Out of 9,100, our output is 8,100 plus our wastage, that is normal loss, is 728. So 9,100 minus the summation of 8,100 plus 728. What is that? I am getting a one more loss. That loss is called as, what is that? Abnormal loss. So the abnormal loss is coming as 272. So 272 I need to calculate the rate for abnormal loss as well as for the output. And as usual way, we can calculate. Once I came to know we have only abnormal loss means definitely we can close the debit side. Okay, so close the debit side. The amount as coming as 36,309 minus what is the amount I credited 728 divided by what is the for what and all I'm calculating the rate per ton for output as well as abnormal loss. So abnormal loss means denominator to be added. So 8,100 plus 272, 4.25 my is the rate per ton applicable for both abnormal loss as well as the output. So 272 into 4.25, 1156, 8,100 into 4.25, 34,425. So this is the way how can you prepare process account when we have abnormal loss and abnormal gain. Thanks for watching my video. Subscribe my channel, click the bell button to have more understanding. Click the I button to watch more videos on cost accounting.